Thank you for joining us on Dojo Live, connecting with tech experts like you. My name is Kim Lantis. It's been a while since I've been here with you. Good to be back. I'm, of course, am broadcasting live from one of Nearsoft's offices in Hermosillo, Sonora, Mexico. Joining me from Los Angeles is my fellow teammate, Tulio. Hi, Tulio. How are you
Good
doing?
afternoon, everyone. Doing great. Thank you.
Tulio, I'm realizing I don't even know how to properly pronounce your last name. Is it Siragusa or is that right?
Siragusa. Yeah,
Yes.
Siragusa.
Yes. Tulio is actually one of our newer teammates, so my shame. So thank you for joining us. Today we're already in our fourth interview for season 5, if you can believe it, and we're excited to be chatting with Brad Brown, the CTO of Onimata. I think I got that correct, which is a leading SaaS-based B2B. Is that right, Onimata?
That's correct.
Perfect. So it's a leading SaaS-based B2B prospecting engine, and it's really changing the way that sales, marketing, and social media teams acquire their prospecting data. So it's great to have you here on Dojo Live, Brad. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Perfect. So to get us started, I guess I would just like for you to share a bit more about yourself. Now, I understand that you've started up several successful companies and even have authored a few books. So tell us about it.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. I started my tech career basically going to Illinois State University and got a degree in computer science when that degree was kind of just getting going. And came out of school and got a job working for a seed corn company, Pioneer Hybrid. And interestingly enough, they were very extremely technology-driven company. The way that they dried the seeds and you name it, was all done via technology. Measuring temperature, and it was pretty cool the things that they were doing. And after being in a remote area, small town in Illinois, my hometown of Princeton, Illinois, I ended up deciding that I needed to move to a bigger city. Had a choice between Chicago or New York City. And being from Illinois, I decided that I would go to the Chicago area. Went to work for the what was the Midwest Stock Exchange. Today, it's the Chicago Stock Exchange, and had a really fun run, working at the exchange, but always had this yearning to go and start my own business. And a little company at the time came to me and asked me if I wanted to join them. That was a company by the name of Oracle. And, I joined pretty early on, around their 1,000th employee mark. And, was there for a while, had a really fun time of doing that. And then left Oracle with a couple of other guys, started an Oracle consulting firm, did that for a 20-year period, sold that in 2008, worked for them till 2011. The company that bought us was based in India, so I spent basically 3 years going back and forth to India on a quarterly basis. And then back in 2005, while I was doing the consulting company, I started a software as a service company in the early days of SaaS, where we were valuing every home in the United States, and came up with valuation algorithms to do that. Sold that company in 2011 to Equifax, and started a video on demand company, a SaaS company, and that's still operational. It's called IntelliVideo. And then started Onimata about a year ago. So yeah, lots of different companies, lots of exciting things, fun. Love building technology, and plenty of failures in between there, right?
Nice. So that seems to be the only common thread that I can find, the idea of building technology, because you've had your fingers in a lot of different markets and areas. So tell us about Onimata, exactly what it is. So you went, agriculture to stock exchange to home valuation to, and I don't know the whole chain, but how did you get into the idea of prospecting?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, you mentioned the books, right? So when we were working in the Oracle space, and early on, one of my business partners, Rich Nemec, said, "Hey, we need to write books for Oracle. They've been hounding us forever. Let's go and do this." And they had partnered with McGraw Hill, and McGraw Hill had this group called Oracle Press. So they said, all right, you guys have to, and I had two other business partners. They said, why don't you guys go write books? Well, the Rich was a database administrator, and he was the top performance tuning guy in the country for Oracle. And so it was real natural that, he'd become the database expert in the world. And my other partner, Joe Trezzo, he said, well, okay, I'll pick PL SQL, which is a programming language within Oracle. And so that kind of left me to figure out, well, what did I want to do? It happened to be in about 1994, 1995. And, I had done a bunch of research into the web and technology and said, you know what, I'm going to pick web development as my way of getting into writing books. So I picked Oracle Application Server, wrote books on that. I wrote 5 different ones for Oracle Press, and then another one for A-Press later on Android development. So had a bunch of experience doing that. Well, in writing the first book, one of the things that came about was that I learned that if you pinged a web server, it would tell you what operating system it was running and what web server it was running. So I had this ingenious idea that if I was to go out and get a list of every domain in the world, which you can get the zone file that gives you every .com, .net, whatever, and I just started pinging every one of them and querying it to figure out what kind of web server it was, then I would have a list of Oracle customers. So, I had a little server in my basement. Yeah, exactly. So, the thing sat out there and it pinged, right? That became our, way of getting business. Roll it
It's so
forward.
smart because even I'm like,
Cool,
I
right?
get it. I'm not even a developer, and I'm like, go what you did there.
Yeah. So then, like I said, one of the books I wrote was on Android development. When the first Android phone came out, I was like, oh, wonder if I could pay for lunch every day by writing apps. And so, I had this idea that, well, how do people search for apps? Well, I think they search for apps based on, Starbucks, Panera, US Bank, whatever brands they know. And so, I thought, well, if I wrote the local US Bank Finder, the local Starbucks Finder, all these apps, and I put them into the App Store, I ended up publishing 500 apps in the App Store. And some companies really didn't like it. They sent me cease and desist, like, no, you can't use our trademark and our name and that stuff. But I went from basically paying for lunch to making over $1,000 a day in the marketplace. And it was like, oh, this is real money. This is pretty cool stuff. Well, then after enough cease and desist, like, no more, and they shut me down. So I had that technology that could go out and find the local, whatever. And I was teaching at the University of Denver, and I was mentoring in a group called Founders Institute. And people would, they were talking about starting, their different businesses. That was part of both of those programs. And they would say, oh, hey, I created this great app, call it like, one of my friends said, basically like a Grubhub type app. I need to find all the restaurants in Denver to call on. Like, oh, I can use this technology that I have to find all the local restaurants. Okay. So, then I'd give them a list. Okay, here's all the restaurants in Denver that you should call on. So, I modified, that software to do that. Well, then when in televideo, when I started that company, we were a video on demand company, and we would notice that different verticals were really hot for us. So, take the fitness industry as an example. I was like, oh, hey, team, I can pull a list of all the fitness people in the United States, and we'll just start calling on them. And so the way I always start a business like that is, I sit with the salesperson, and Bill was my sales guy, and I said, Bill, I'm going to make a call, then you're going to make a call, and I'm going to make a call. We're going to see how this goes, right? So we sit down in a room, and we pick up the phone, and the first guy's like, I don't even have a video. That's a great idea. Well, when you realize you're doing a bunch of missionary work, it's like, this is not going to work from a sales process. We can't cold call on all these guys. So I thought, I could modify my software, because one of the things that I had modified my software to do was to read through the website and find all the email addresses throughout the whole website. So, then we could send emails to people. So I thought, well, what if I was to search for things like DVDs and watch and play and subscribe and all these different words. So I enhanced my software a little bit more and I made it do that. Well, all of that is the genesis over really a 20-year period for Onimata, right? Because what I decided to do was exit from the day-to-day at IntelliVideo and start Onimata and really focus on helping people to find their customers with intelligence. And like Tulio was saying, what we did was we use intelligence. We look at what our customers are talking about, and and we search through their website. So, for example, one of our customers is Ratio. They have a sprinkler system that you can control from your phone. And they needed to find all the sprinkler techs to do installation so that when you buy it on Amazon, you can have somebody come out and do an install. And so we loaded all their sprinkler techs in and we ran it, and look at what they're talking about. They're talking about water conservation. Oh, great. We can find guys that talk about water conservation. So we run that through the engine. They're going to go to Dallas to start recruiting people in Dallas. We're able to then say, yeah, there's 1,000 sprinkler techs in Dallas, but here are the top 30 that you ought to talk to. Right? So and that's been true, of each business that I've started. Like you said, technology is the common core, the thread. Another common thread is I don't have a clue what I'm doing when I go into it, right? So, when it really comes down to it, real estate property valuations, I was doing fix and flips. And when I came up with the idea of, buying a home, fixing it up and selling it, I went to my local banker, friend and said, hey, I've got this great idea. And I went through it and he's like, fix and flips? People have been doing that for 100 years, dude. I mean, I didn't know anything about doing property valuations.
But you didn't make a reality TV show.
I didn't. So, in that case, I said, well, how can I differentiate myself, right? Like, how can I figure out how to use technology to make it different? And everybody who was doing property valuations at that point in time was going to the county and getting data. Well, if you go to the county and you find out the number of bedrooms and bathrooms and stuff that people have, if the county thinks you have 1 bedroom and 100 square feet in your home, you don't call them up and say, hey, I think you should know that it's, I have 14 bedrooms and 80,000 square feet, right? Because your taxes will go up. So, people don't tell what it is, but they do tell their realtor. So we rolled up all of the MLS data for the country. Every home is going to sell within a certain percentage of what it's listed for. And, we became the most accurate valuation engine, hence, why Equifax wanted to buy what we had. The same is true, for Onimata. It's a long path to get here, right? Apps, all these different things, all these different experiments along the way. Go try it out. Now, now the stuff works, right? Video. Why did I get in the video business? I had a bunch of video content from my Oracle consulting practice, and I had all this educational material that I wanted to put out there. There was no place that I could put it. Later, Udemy came out, and you could put it into a marketplace, but the downside of that is that if you had a brand, you know that everybody's going to want to buy your Oracle training classes. I'm more expensive than everybody else. If I put it in Udemy and somebody else is $20 and I'm $500, they're going to do a price comparison right there. I didn't want them to be able to do that, so I created a marketplace where you could do your own branding and everything and put it out there. And so every business kind of came about, by a long time of people, driving me down, a certain path. And that's, Onimata. I love helping people sell and figure stuff out.
That's really cool. I'm going to pass you off to Tulio really quick, but I do have one question because what I'm noticing with you, I think your personality type, Brad, first of all, it's very impressive. I noticed that you have a lot of tenacity, a lot of fearlessness, and it seems like you consistently kind of are thinking outside the box, looking at a problem and trying to solve that. Now, would you say that's something that's innate to you and your nature, or something that you've had to learn? How could you encourage that in others? It's quite inspiring.
Yeah, thank you. definitely innate. It's not. I mean, from the time. I mean, when I was growing up in a small town, I was mowing lawns, working at the paint store, detasseling corn. Out in the fields working for Pioneer. So I would do that from 5 a.m. till noon till it got hot. Then I'd go work the paint store. Then I'd go mow lawns. Right.
Hard
Doing
work
those kind
too.
of things.
Key ingredient.
Yeah, yeah, and fortunately, I had. I mean, I operated on 4 hours of sleep for over 20 years, and I do love the technology stuff. I was up, past midnight last night cranking away on the Onimata, restructuring the platform and doing all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah, definitely a pretty innate thing for me.
Very cool. And my last question is Onimato. What's with the name? Where'd you get that from?
Yeah, so if you back up, when we first said, okay, well, we got to come up with a name for this technology, and so you start going out and you look for, all right, what can we get .com, right? Brad's lead gen services.com. Yeah, that might be available. It gets a little long. We wanted to go short, so we started looking for different languages other than English that we could get it, that people would understand what the words were. We decided on Maori, and which is a New Zealand tribal language or country, or part of the country, right, and culture, and so we decided on Maori, and so we picked all these words in Maori, and then we got all the .coms, and we put them up on the board, and we asked people to come in and read them, and Onimata means rich, fertile soil in Maori. And so we would have everybody read each of them, and everybody mispronounced it. Onimata, Onimata, all kinds of things. We thought, well, that's a great opportunity, for us. And so we have so much fun with the name and the logo. We have a deal that if we exit for a great number, that we all have to get tattoos. Mine, probably be across my whole face. No, probably not. We didn't say how big it has to be. So yeah, we have a lot of fun. We have a video that we're about to release that is absolutely hilarious. My partner Will and Mike plan on doing an interpretive dance to, they're going to have a lot of fun, and we have a culture of a lot of fun with it, and so that's kind of the origin of Onimata, and it's actually really well.
I love that. Like, I think it's the easy thing to be like, oh no, like everyone's going to be confused by it and they're going to pronounce it wrong. And instead of seeing that as a pebble in your shoe, you see that as an opportunity. I love that.
Fun. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. Make fun of yourself, right? That's what we do.
Exactly. So Tulio, you're the sales guy, and I'm sure you're dying with all kinds of questions about Onimata, and I'm sure that Brad has all kinds of answers. So.
Yeah, I love the name. It actually, I was introduced to yerba mate tea this past fall by some Argentinian friends. So that's kind of, it conjured up some memories there. Besides the name, cool name, how are you proposing to differentiate yourself in the marketplace? I mean, it's a very crowded space.
Super crowded,
right? So yeah. What's unique that's differentiating you? Why would I want to use your service, your product?
Yeah. I think the main reason is it comes down to it works, but you're right. That's a really hard thing for us to get across to people. So how do we differentiate ourselves? Well, one way is going back to that tenacity and thinking about things outside the box and really trying to think about what it is that we do, what do we do well, and my technology does a phenomenal job of reading through websites and looking for different phrases, and there's plenty of competition in the space of lead gen business, right? But when it comes down to giving you an actionable list of things, we call it Onimata Inbox Gold, and so what we do is we figure out whatever the cadence is that a salesperson wants. And we go out and we find the companies, and that's technologies that you care about. If you're shopping, you're going after ServiceNow implementations, we can find every company running, service now, right? So we go out and we do that. The companies is kind of our secret sauce. Like, how do you find it, score them? Now we've rated them and we've got a score on them, and we've got, here's the order in which you should call them. Here's who you should call today. The second piece of that is most people want to sell you a contact list with, take Ratio. There's 287,000 sprinkler and call installers in the United States. They would want to sell you that list of the 287,000. They want to sell you a list of the, however many contacts that they can find, with that. We don't do that. On whatever cadence the person wants, what we do is we find, we've got the companies, here's the next 10 you're going to call. We've partnered with 30 different, data providers to provide contact data, and we cascade through them. So we look at the best guys out there that we know of. We ping their API and we say, xyz.com, we're looking for these 5 titles, who do you have? And then, we go to the next company and the next company, and okay, you want to call in 5 companies a week or 50 or whatever. Some places have to call in 100 a day. Other places have to call in 5 in a week, right? So the cadence is very different. We deliver an actionable list. Here's who to call today. Here are the people to call, and then you get to provide the feedback on it. But super inexpensive. I mean, we started out at $250 a month per rep, and after doing a bunch of analysis, we said, that's nice. It's a very concierge service. In V2, which we've redone our whole UI and UX to make it totally self-service, we're going to $20 a month, right? Completely different offer. So, for $20 a month, it's kind of a no-brainer. Put stuff in, we'll give you a trial, you can try it out. And when you see people light up, you see the differentiation. Like, oh, those really are, they do look like my customers. I need to call on these guys.
Over the years, we've noticed how much the user experience plays a role in an adoption. You could literally have faster adoption with a good experience, or the opposite when there's no focus. How much energy, how much focus do you put into that, and what's working for you in terms of creating stickiness?
Well, what my path of doing that is always to go to the market with V1. Not much thought out in terms of UI, UX experience, other than, kind of from my techie head, what do I want to do? So if you go to the real estate valuation company, you could enter an address, and then, I gave you 30 options for what you could do with that address. You can value a home, you can look at the neighborhood, you can do all this stuff, right? Well, then in V2, we said, okay, what do people really want to do? They want to enter an address and see a bunch of information about, that particular address. Onimata is the same way. I went out, I knew what I needed to do. I know how to fill out a profile. We hired Allison. Allison, now is our onboarding, person. She, works with the customer, define what we call an ICP, ideal customer profile. She loads it into the software. Can people figure out how to use the software on their own? Generally not, right? So what we've done is we've gone to this concierge model where Allison figures all this stuff out, and then she delivers your inbox gold, and in an email you just get, here's the people you need to call on. That's V1, right? What we've spent the last several months on is V2, which, like you said, is super, super critical. What does it look like? Does it feel like it's experience? And so, we do run-throughs of that several times a week. Every one of us in the company, we sit down, we're going through it. Okay, so I come into the website, I go here, I click here, I go there, I enter this. Wait, that's confusing. Back up. So V2 of the user experience should be a really, really good self-service experience. And we use technologies like Hotjar to see where people are moving and what they're doing. But yeah, if you want a self-service platform, it's all about having a UI UX experience that people can do that. Now, I'll tell you, at IntelliVideo, we thought the same thing. And so we worked and we worked and we worked. And it's such a complicated setup and configuration. Let's say you're a company with one video, that's one thing. But many of our customers had 10,000 videos that they needed to group in all these different packages and be able to distribute them. We spent millions of dollars on a UI UX experience that people could use, and nobody could ever use it. So everything to this date is still concierge model. because of that. I don't think that's going to be true for Onimata, but we could do the concierge model, but the downside of that is you have to charge more for your service in order to be able to do it. It's not as scalable.
Right, right.
Yeah, I was actually, that kind of leads into one of my questions that I was thinking, because I like the idea of the concierge model. I like the idea of, the do-it-yourself. Maybe there's opportunity for both, because the idea of, your tenacity, you're stepping outside, thinking outside of the box. I think Onimato is effective because it helps you capitalize on what's already working really well for your company.
Yeah.
But how can that help companies, step it up? Maybe there's something that's even going to work better for me that I don't even know about yet.
Right.
Yeah. So have you considered that troubleshooting, or how you could help your clients with that?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. So we kind of we break the market into two different segments: business, or SMB, small middle sized businesses. So the everyman businesses, we call it. That's where we see the self-service, and they'd be able to click through and what does this mean? I'm entering in terms I'm looking for, technologies. You have a little video that you show, and then we've integrated things like Zen chat in so that people can ask questions as they're going through. But the enterprise business, to your point, we sit down with them, clients like US Bank, right, where they have hundreds of reps, and we want to understand what it is they want to do, and they'll always be a concierge customer without a doubt. And so yeah, I don't see us being 100% self-service, because I think we know a lot more about, like you said, the inner workings and what's going to maximize their returns overall.
And Forrester predicted that in the next 10 years, the high growth for AI are decision engines and virtual agents. What are your plans for incorporating virtual agents where they can provide that kind of concierge service via a chatbot, for example? Is that something on the roadmap, or are you guys testing that?
So if you go back to my real estate property valuation business, artificial intelligence was a huge part of it, and so we were really segmenting neighborhoods down to a small unified set of homes, and then running AI, and you could come up machine learning to come up with value on a home. That was one of the models, and that was an important model. But the better models were like appraisers do it, like humans do it, where they compare a bunch of homes to each other, and the more similar they are, the better, and the more recently they sold, and that was another engine, right? So I've done a lot with machine learning, and when you have a lot of data, you can do machine learning. And so from a support perspective, without a doubt, playing a video, intelligent agents that can ask questions, answer questions. I think the adoption so far is not great on those. And when people in a chat window keep asking you, is there anything I can help you with? It's like, no, I'll tell you when I need some help, right? So all of those are without a doubt on the roadmap, in discussion, trying to figure out how we're going to make that stuff work. In the video business, I thought artificial intelligence and knowing about what people watch and how long they watch and when they break off, and all that was going to be a really big part of the business. It really wasn't. I mean, people buy stuff and they don't watch it. That's kind of.
Well, we're coming up on time shortly, but I have just a few more questions. What keeps you up at night related to growth, your platform, and also the market challenges? How are you overcoming that?
Yeah, so for me, it's always about this path. What's the path that you're going to get there to the most success, the quickest. So what was keeping me up last night was the code running through my head, that wasn't working when I went to bed at 1 a.m. And that's the kind of stuff that'll wake me up. Is okay, you got to figure this out. Got to figure out how to make it work. I actually, because we initially were going down this concierge model, and scalability wasn't as much of a concern. Then all of a sudden, when you're reading hundreds of thousands of websites, that becomes unscalable. So we figured out plan B. Okay, now we got to figure out how to scale it. So I'm implementing that, right? then we've got the video, then we've got, we've got all these customers wanting all these things. We had a meeting this morning, talking through each of the customers in the pipeline that are live. Where are they at? How's their data? How are their sales doing? How much have we impacted? So, I like to be in all aspects of a business, and that means that certain things keep me up. But at the same time, for me, that I love this phase of building a company and really seeing customers when they're just so excited about stuff. But fun stuff.
Well, that's why we exist. We help CTOs get some sleep. But
that's awesome.
I'm actually curious. What would you consider sort of your leapfrog forward moment? Like, if this thing happened, what would be like? We did it. We've arrived. Here's our next big thing. It's happened. What would that look like for you? And how would that change the industry? Would that disrupt anything in the industry?
I think we will be super disruptive to the industry without a doubt, because the data industry, nobody's making fun of themselves. No, it's a really stodgy business. It's a really boring business, in general. People are buying these massive data sets and then trying to resell them. We don't do any of that stuff. And when we have conversations with customers, I mean, they get really, really excited. So, what is it? There's a number of small, medium businesses out there. If we got to 1,000 in a pretty short period of time, that's one benchmark. If we get to several million in ARR in a pretty short period of time, that's another KPI that's important to us. So it's that acceleration, it's the growth, it's the lack of churn, it's all the typical SaaS things. I'll know. I mean, I feel like our success is so written on the wall at this point. I mean, we are seeing our adoption rate, our customer success, everything is going really well. But that's again going back to what keeps me up. It's that part of it. We've got to be able to scale the platform in order to be able to onboard all these customers and do that as quickly as possible. So, it's fun, but we'll know. I mean, I've been through it several times, and like I alluded to, I've had many failures along the way. So I know what a failure looks like. I've had many successes. I know what a success looks like. This is a problem that everybody has to solve.
There are no failures, just lessons learned, right?
Yeah.
So I have one.
I learned 1,000 ways not to do it.
Exactly. I have one last question, then I'll pass it back to Kim. If you were an advisor to your company, looking from the outside in, what kind of advice would you give to the leadership team?
Go, go, go. Run, sprint, work harder, faster. Yeah, keep it up, keep up the pace, keep up the excitement, keep working with customers. It's a lot of, keep doing the same things that we're doing, but, keep that momentum going and just have a really fun team to work with. So, probably not a lot different than what we're doing, if any, but yeah, go.
Thanks. Back to you, Kim.
Thank you, Tulio. Thank you, Brad. I know we're coming up to the end of our time here, and Brad, your time is valuable. I could tell. Did you have any last? Well, that was kind of your words of wisdom. Keep going. Don't give up. The tenacity speaking through one more time. Congratulations with the fun company you've helped build, the fun product innovation that you've created. Thank you for your time here in Dojo Live. We'll be in touch, and we can go ahead and put all of your contact information and whatever else you want to include on the website. And then, of course, Carlos, the usual host, will be in contact with you to help with all of those things. And so, folks, if you want to know more about Brad, check at dojo.nearsoft.com. You can also see our past episodes, watch this one again, and prepare for next week. We actually have a full week next week. It looks like there's 4 Dojo Lives running next week. So, Brad, did you have anything how can people check you out if they want to check out more from you?
You can go to the Onimato website, www.onemata.com. You can send me an email. My email is brownb@onimata.com. you can give me a call. All that stuff's on the website. But I definitely love talking to people. I mentor a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people. I appreciate what folks like yourself are doing, because helping guys like me sleep at night is a great thing. And so having resources like yourself at our fingertips is a super valuable resource. So I thank you guys for that. I thank you for having this conversation. It's really exciting to talk to you guys, and
It's
great.
fun. Time flew.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so
Perfect.
much.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's good to be back. Thank you for helping me host today, Tulio. And
Pleasure.
we'll see you next week at Dojo Live.
Awesome.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.